Hello, a very good afternoon to all of you. So, in last lecture, we have completed about what was the status of art and architecture. Secondly, we have also completed about what were the cultural scenarios of the Gupta society. Now, today we are going to have a discussion over the provincial and the local administration. How did the administration was being carried out? Now, in the general lecture or the previous lectures, if you have not visited, I would suggest you please revisit and then come upon this lecture, because there we had discussed some aspects of the administration on the basis of polity as well as the economy. I have also told you what were the elements of the tax structure during the Gupta period. We have discussed what were the key terminologies around the tax structure. Okay, so sources, so we have discussed in the previous session when we were discussing about the crafts and administration. We have discussed a number of sources like the Vayu Purana or the Mudra Rakshasa of n number of writers, like for example the inscriptions presented by the Harisena poet. Okay, so each and every detail tells you about how did the livelihood was being carried out in the Gupta society. Okay, now in this session we would be discussing about the provincial and the administration. Now you might say that ma'am have already told about some layers of the government structure, right? Now in the previous session we have discussed that the government during this period was known for especially for its futuristic layers or the phases, right, from the top to bottom and from bottom to top. Now, why Gupta period was termed as the more stable polity of the ancient times? The reason stands behind the provincial administration. Now, for example, if you see our today's society, okay, our nation is being divided into the different states. Now, whether we take the Indian states, whether we take the American states, in today's date we call them as the federal states. Okay. Now, in the similar way, during the Gupta period, the Madhya Desha and in fact each of the western and the eastern, okay, territory, like if you see in the map, and just see in the map of Gupta Empire, you will see that if you divide this Madhya Desha, okay, this Magadha Desha and the Purva Desha and this western, okay, so all these were being divided into the different provinces, okay, the larger provinces. Now here I am not talking about the states, I am talking about the provinces, as this time is a time where we would be having the empirical evidences. Okay, that is why we'll be terming them as the provinces, and here this provinces would be again divided into the different regions. If there are a good number of populated states, then those would be divided into the different regions. If they are less populated, then they would be divided into the districts. Okay, and then these districts would be divided in the taluka. Now here is one observation, that the eastern states, okay, the eastern states, whether Magad, whether this Odisha, present Odisha, or that time ka Kalinga region, were one of the most populated. Secondly, it was the high trading ports, okay, during that period, and that is why we'll find more layers of governance in this area, okay, in this region, in the eastern region, and that is why you will find here the block levels are being also present. That is, what is the block level? Block level is nothing but the taluka administration. Okay, so here you will find the taluka administration also, and after that you will find the village administration. So it is moreover the 4 tiers of governance. And when we come on the western part of the society or western part of the political structure, you will see that it is merely the 3 tier. Okay, so on basis of this you can understand where does the population majorly belongs to. So it would be majorly belonging upon the Gangetic Valley as well as the trading ports. Okay, as we have discussed in the last lecture, who were the Guptas? Guptas were Vaishyas, right? So they were majorly by blood, they were the traders. Okay, so that is why they would be majorly focusing upon the economical activities, the trade activities, and growing of the international connections to enhance their economy. So here you will find that the eastern states would be flourishing variedly with respect to each of its special features. Okay, like for example, if it is Odisha, okay, so it would be having different kind of architecture, it would be having different kind of visitors, it would be having different kind of agricultural produce. Okay, and if you come to the Bengal region or the present Bengal region or the Magad region, okay, so here you would be finding many of the industrial districts. Okay, so here the smelting of the iron, the employment of the artisans would be at a greater pace. So for governing all this kind of population, we followed here the 4-tier of governance structure. Okay, the governance structure. And if we come to the western part, you will see that it is 3-tier. Okay, now it is not our 74th or 73rd amendment. Okay, but yes, you can imagine it on the similar lines. Okay, so let us have the clear-cut discussion. Okay, now see the provincial. Okay, now this is a province. Okay, this is a province. So the provincial administration or the provinces were known as the Bhukti. Okay, and the Uparika was a person who used to head this Bhukti. Okay, now the Bhukti is not a state, it is a complete province. Okay, now these provinces would be again divided into the regions, major regions. I'm not talking here about the districts, larger than the district and the lesser than the bhuktis or the province. Okay, so the middle division was the bhogas. Okay, so bhogas was nothing but a region greater than the district, okay, and smaller than the province. So, Bhogas and the Bhuktis were considered as the largest entity in the governance structure. Okay. Now, if it was divided into the Bhogases, and after that, after the Bhogas, we'll find the Vishyas. Okay. Now, the Vishyas were nothing but the districts, as we have discussed in the previous sessions also. Now, just try to keep this mind map in your mind so that you could understand exactly the words, the Sanskrit words which were being used during that time. Okay, so the Vishyas at the district level, and the one who headed the Vishyas was known as the Vishapati. Okay, now the Vishapati in today's date is the district collector, in simply words to be putted. Okay, so the Vishyas are the Vishyas were headed by the Vishapatis. And now if we consider the eastern societies, the eastern states or the eastern provinces, now as I have showed you in the map, that the eastern states or the eastern provinces were majorly populated and the regions with a higher demand in the economical activities, and that is why much more population would be employed in the state, much more population would be migrated towards this state, and that is why the need for the governance also arises. Now, once the need for the governance arises, we have to divide a state into many or the various parts, so that the administration becomes much more transparent, much more observable or monitorable. Okay, so here this eastern states were being also having the Vithis. Now, what are the Vithis? These are the talukas or the block level region. Okay, so this Vithis are majorly found in the eastern Indian subcontinent. After this, we will be having the grams, and what are known as, what is meant by the gram? Grams are nothing but the villages. Now, so this grams would be headed by the Graminis or the Gramopati. Now, who was the Gramopati? Gramopati was the head of the village who used to have the final decision making power in the meeting. Okay, so the Gramopati, okay, would be headed by the council. It was being found through the evidences that he was headed or he used to be assisted by the council, village council. Now, this council used to be of all the elder peoples. Now, if you see in your family, who takes the major decision? Now, in our Indian state or the Indian country, right from the beginning, if you see your grandfather, if you see your grandmothers, okay, all their followings, all their generational beliefs is to listen to the elder people. Okay, so the same thing we would be finding in the ancient India. So the village was being headed by the Gramopati, and a Gramopati was a person who would be the most eldest person in the council. So what was the council? Council was a group of the elder people from that village. Why? Because it was believed that these elder people are having much more knowledge. They have experienced, they have solution many of the challenges of the life, and that is why they can be a good reciprocator or the good suggester or a good recommender in the challenging or the crisis like situation. And that is why the elders were supposed to participate in this council, okay, sit in the meetings and suggest the Gramopati. Now Gramopati was one of the eldest person from the council who used to head the council. Okay, so if you somewhere compare all this structure in the with the present date governance system, it would be quite similar, unless and until it is the elder person who is heading over here. Okay, discarding this, each and everything we are presently being following. If you see in the present date, some states are following 3-tier governance structure. Okay, and in some of the Indian states we are following 4-tier governance structure. Okay, now it's the different thing that in Tamil Nadu we are still following the Dravidian structure. It's completely different thing. Okay, but if we see the other states, other 27 to 28 states, you will see that the same governance structure is being followed right in the present day today also. And that is why Gupta period is futuristically considered as a stable polity during the ancient India. Now, if anyone asks you a question, you should be able to answer that yes, the polity during the Gupta period was much more stable. What was good during the Gupta period was the polity. And secondly, the economy. Although the economy declined after the Skandagupta, but yes, up till the Skandagupta or up till the Chandragupta too, the economy was quite stronger. Okay, so